there needs to be some better leadership on just the whole safety situation. My road's shorter than most everybody's in here, so I think it's just it's just after the whole fire thing at Darlington, and the reaction on Tuesday was drastic, but way too late. I think as we look at the fire problem, for me, and I start digging through how that whole thing had transpired and gone down, and then you look at the car and you start asking questions, and you're like, well, why did everything melt? Well, this is really not 100% fire resistant, and here's the coating that we presented a couple months ago after Chase's fire, and it's been rejected, and now this week it's all in there. You got a piece of stainless on there. So that reaction, as I go back and talk to my guys, and we basically had a car catch on fire at every test. So it's not like it was a new problem. We had the 48 catch on fire at Darlington, I think, the first race. And so we've seen a lot of these instances, and it's just a really, really slow reaction. And I think if the teams were in charge of stuff like that, and the proper input was put in place, and we would have never had more than 2 fires if the teams were in charge for the whole field, because they would have collaborated and not been so slow to react. So the whole safety thing is really kind of second fiddle right now. And I just don't think that's fair to the drivers. I do not think it's fair to the drivers, and we can debate all day, but debating isn't really fixing anything. And I think when I look at the car itself, it's not rear impacts, it's not front impacts, it's not side impacts, it's all impacts. And no matter what their filtered data says, it's not what the drivers are feeling, and we need a louder voice. And I as I sat and thought about it this week, it really needs to have more of an independent group that makes the decisions on how to implement things and how to go through a process that's outside of NASCAR and the teams, because NASCAR is slow to react, and the teams are always worried about money, and that doesn't do anything for the drivers.
Is the infrastructure there to make quick changes on some of these things? Because
we did it in a day.
Source, well, I mean,
the teams can still make parts. We don't need to use the teams can do way more than all these people that are making the parts. All the smart people live in the teams. All the problems get solved in the teams, and our teams can. All the smart people work on the race teams, and they're the ones that fix the problems. And that's how we got to where we are today. If it weren't for the teams, the rules would not look anything like they did, and the racing wouldn't be as good as it is. And the teams are the ones that fix the problems. And we would not wait as long as we have. But the drivers are the piece that's way out of line right now. And I think that the safety thing should go into a bucket that has a council of some sort of board of sorts that handles these types of problems. When it goes into that safety bucket, NASCAR and the teams don't have a say in it, because safety can't be about money. I've lived this, man. I've watched. I watched when we had all the trouble with Adam and Kenny Irwin, and then it resulted in Dale Earnhardt, and then all of a sudden it was mandatory to wear Hans devices. It was mandatory to wear the Hutchins device. We developed soft walls. It can't be slow. The safety cannot be slow, and this car it's screwed up as far as the way that it crashes. And whether the data says it or not, every driver in this garage will tell you that's not right, and it hurts. Feet hurt, hands hurt, head hurt, and there has to be a better solution. And I think when we want to solve problems, we can solve them quick, super quick. And I think that plan didn't come together in one day, because there wasn't stuff that was not already in a process, but it was just too slow to be implemented. And now, unfortunately, we're in the spot that we're in. But the positive that came out of it was there was a lot of progress made on a situation that shouldn't have been there in September.
Where's the dialogue now? Where do you feel like things are with you in this? You feel like
this is the dialogue.
So no dialogue with NASCAR still.
No, and look, I've been on both sides of this, and it's the reason that I didn't stay on the driver council because things were too slow. Like if I was running it, it just happens too slow for me. And, you know, I think this is, you know, playing the politically correct, you know, we got to keep our eye on the racing. We got a TV contract coming up, whatever all that is still not fair to the drivers to be compromised inside of the car and have, you know, the slow reaction that we're having and not listening to every hit hurts, because every hit hurts.
And their argument would be, well, they put shrouds on.
That's the problem. They want to argue.
They've changed glues being used, and that they've made steps.
Why is the Kevlar burn, Bob? Why is the foam melt? Do we know those answers?
I would think they
Because they're not as fire retardant as they should be. The only reason I stopped this weekend is because the flames were coming inside the freaking car. Because it used to all be steel right there, and you look at the foam, all the foam it looks like a marshmallow. So, you know, I think now it's all coated with the coating that we presented 2 months ago. That doesn't catch on fire in the right side of the car. So, you know, like I say, things have progressed, and we are here today, but it can't be that slow. There's just no reason. It's not fair to the drivers to be compromised like we are right now and not have at least a, you know, progress plan. And it's not just a rear clip. It's a front clip, a rear clip, side. Every hit hurts.
And the reason would be that if you make a change, what is the impact of a change? And also, if you allow teams to make parts, then all of a sudden you kind of
We only make parts in emergency situation, Bob. Right now you're in an emergency situation because the car doesn't crash right.
So is that the solution to, because you know, you hear, well, they could do something in the off season.
I don't know what the solution is, but I know it needs to be way faster. And if you start in the off season, it's going to be a complete cluster to try to get it done before the clash. So where are we headed here? Like, what's the plan? Every driver in here is tired of hitting the wall and having it hurt. Tired of hitting a car at 20 miles an hour and rearing into somebody and having your horns lock out. The data, your filtered data may say that it's the same, but it's not the same. And when you really start looking at it, and you know, I know Denny has talked about this before, and you look at how quick the hits come up and how fast everything accelerates, you know, I think it's very apparent that it's not the same. The total G might be the same, but the quickness that you get there is very different. And I think the best example that I have is when I came over the hill earlier in the year at Sonoma, we're going, what, 60 miles an hour maybe? Full lock, just from a impact with the 2 car. Just, he was checked up and I checked up, and full lock. That's not normal. That's not right. So, you know, I can't tell you how many guys have talked about the side impacts and how bad they hurt at low speeds. So, you know, it's time to listen to the driver and stop worrying about the data.
So you talked about independent commissioner, independent group to kind of work. How do you envision it? And
I don't know. I just know that when it falls into safety, it has to be taken out of the hands of how much it costs, and we're looking at it. That can't be the answer. Like, what's the, you know, if you have 4 or 5 guys from the teams, and you know, we all have people that analyze parts and analyze the data and analyze the crashes and implement new ideas to solve problems. All the top teams have that. And, you know, if you get those guys involved and you have somebody from NASCAR and you know, somebody from the RTA, but, you know, they can listen, that's fine. But there needs to be an independent group that helps speed up this process and understand, you know, how it tells the teams in NASCAR how we're going to implement this to fix the safety side of it, because safety has to fall before cost, right? And it doesn't right now.
So why, I mean, think about getting out of the car?
What's
that's
that?
it gotten so unsafe that you feel like you shouldn't race? Like, I mean, would you ever consider just saying, okay?
You know, I think that the biggest concern right now is you have another Kurt Busch situation. Like if we just keep letting it go, like why do we want that situation? That's the situation that you're in.
Do you feel like they've traded being safe for the most worst accidents versus, and have created kind of another problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, I do feel like that they've said, okay, we're worried about intrusion and things like potentially what could have happened to Ryan Newman, So we fixed that, and now it created this problem that you're seeing with Kurt Busch.
I don't know, but if we had the right group of people talking about it together, I could have some better answers on that for you. If there was open dialogue about what the right people on the teams and situations that are happening. But I just know that it can't be, well, the data doesn't show this, the drivers don't know what they're talking about. The hell it doesn't. We're the ones out there banging into something every week, and I guarantee you, every one of them will tell you the same thing about the small impacts and the big impacts, and those are the facts.
Is
You
the
feel-
driver advisory council express, I mean, I thought it was more a big collaborative effort. It seemed like.
In my opinion, the whatever we call the new stuff is exactly where the drivers' council was when it all ended. It starts off great, you get a couple wins, but now we're in a big situation.
So it didn't have any effect earlier.
So one guy like Burton can't solve it all, is what you're.
No way.
Why are you comfortable being, you're putting yourself out there to be the voice here. Why are you comfortable in this position?
Because it just feels like the right thing to do for my colleagues.
Do you feel extra pressure or being kind of the one of the last drivers from the early 2000s era now that Kurt Busch
I've
is
watched it. I've watched this whole process when it's too slow.
Is that what kept you from maybe being more vocal earlier, or were you just doing it more behind the scenes?
I mean, you want to believe that it's just going to happen, right? Yeah, just the process and the way that things are going to go. That okay, like this feels better, feels right, but we're kind of right. We're in the same spot that we were with the last driver council.
Have they come to you and asked, have you had personal talks with NASCAR? Have they come to you and say, hey Kevin, what do you think about this? I'm being serious.
No.
Would you be open to it?
I'm open to anything if it has a progression to resolution.
Who's your go-to person at NASCAR right now?
You?
So you don't even get a call on the other side, like an angry call, like, why are you doing this in the media? Why don't you talk to us behind closed doors? Or something like that.
I've asked enough questions, so we're here.
So what else is on your mind?
Qualifying.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, we gotta ask you